Wow, thank you so much. Welcome. This is Monday afternoon, 4 p.m. in Canada. Welcome to Family Civility, and thank you so much for being on, joining us. I am Dr. Rebecca Finlayson Harper, the founder of Family Civility and Family Civility Today. Like, share, form a watch party because you do not want to miss this show. This is an amazing show today. We talk about a topic that is I'm very passionate about personally because it's about civility, bringing civility back to divorce and how we can get collaborative law. And I'm so excited to have, because Canada has reached it to a point. We have a long way to go, but compared to other countries, especially where I went through divorce in Jamaica, it has come a long way. I have the most beautiful Farzana Jiwani. She is the principal owner of Farzana Jiwani Law. She has been practicing law since 2008 and specializes in family law. She's known for her positive energy. I can definitely vouch for that. And strength when dealing with family law matters. She founded Farzana Jiwani Law because of her commitment to provide clients with the highest quality of service. She knows that separation and divorce can be stressful and are stressful events for the entire family. Farzana is fully trained collaborative lawyer and is a member of the Collaborative Practice Toronto and the York Practice Group. She's also a board member of the Aga Khan Coalition and Arbitration Board of Ontario. Oh, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, if you have any comments, comment below. We love your comments. We want you to share, form a watch party, and remember, after the show, it'll be posted on YouTube. How are you, Farzana? And before we start, tell us, what is collaborative law?
So collaborative law is also known as collaborative practice, and it's an alternative dispute resolution process, and it's a voluntary process. And it's a commitment by the parties to have lawyers who are committed not to go to court and who are committed to ensuring that financial information is provided adequately and that they will speak honestly and truthfully to one another to come up with agreements that will assist the family move forward in a positive way, keeping the best interests of the children in mind. And it also includes other professionals. So a financial professional, sometimes a social worker, sometimes a tax lawyer, bringing in other professionals to provide advice or guidance. So for example, if a property is going to be transferred, you might want to get a financial planner or a tax lawyer involved to understand the tax implications of such a transfer. Social workers like you are really, really important in our process in helping to design parenting plans. And it really talks about, what are the needs of the children? What are the extracurricular activities? What are the needs of the families, the individual parents? And how can we make all of those come together for a common goal?
So it's really exciting because people who watch my show, I've preached this like constantly, that collaborative law, it's more than just divorce should be more than two lawyers fighting it out. And it's not a fight. It's not a win-lose situation because unfortunately in divorce, everybody loses. What are the best practices that you have seen working in Canada when it comes to, because I have people all over the world watching. So what are good practices that you have seen being done in Canada that can help families say, hey, that's a good idea? Like one of them I speak about is where the children stay in the home and the parents move out.
Well, I think that what I've seen is a lot of young couples separating and young professionals. People have busy lives, people have financial independence, and they're able to divorce, whereas in the past, maybe there were marital problems, but financial circumstances prevented them from separating. And so what I often see is that people will take their homes and they will sell it. They'll get condos that are close by one another. They'll have grandparents assist with pickups and drop-offs. They'll have a counselor for the child to help them discuss parenting disputes. And so it's really the creation of a new family, and a family that's void of conflict, void of anger, void of resentment, void of dysfunctionality is the important piece there. And you see a lot of people being encouraged to co-parent, because people are getting divorced at a younger and younger, when their children are younger and younger, and they still need to co-parent for 16 years. Children are still living with their parents in undergrad because of the costs of university. And so, parents need to be able to make decisions when it comes to what school their children are going to go to, what extracurriculars they're going to involve them in. It's not just about a decision where people are going to make a decision about what's the schedule today. What's the schedule going to be like 5 years from now? What's the schedule going to be like 10 years from now? What happens when jobs change, when people's priorities and goals change? How are we going to incorporate that into the family structure and the new family structure?
So again, another great point. What is a new family structure? Because most countries in the world, it is mother, father, nuclear family as we defined it. Right. But again, this is a cornerstone of family civility, where we love, support, and are civil. It's the universal design for family, where all family types, whether it's based off of sexuality, gender, race, formation, and, disabilities, exceptionalities, anything, these families are becoming the norm. There's no more defining family as mother, father, child.
Right. And you see that at soccer games now. You see that at, the children's plays at school, where families will sit together, even where there's blended families. Sometimes the mother, the father sitting in the front, and the partner sitting one row behind, just to be able to show that there is some sort of respect for the new family structure, and for that child to see that there's a good co-parenting relationship, and that they've always been put first with respect to priorities. And, in terms of that new family structure, you see a lot of give and take. You see a lot of priorities spent on ensuring that schedules with grandparents' birthdays or religious events, or supporting each other's employment or activities at work, and the child feeling like there's a lot of cooperation between the parties.
So with all of this, it seems like so many people to get involved. And what is the best approach? Like, we're going to go to the conflict styles as well, but right now, if you want to get the divorce, what are the steps to do it collaboratively? Do you go to a lawyer, and the lawyer arranges all the other people, like the social workers or the social service workers? Do they arrange the financial advisor? Did the lawyer, does you as a collaborative lawyer, you have your team, or does you work with people that they recommend?
So basically what we recommend first is that people go to the Collaborative Practice Toronto or Collaborative Practice York Region website. There you'll see qualified people who are trained in collaborative law, and their goal is to keep matters out of court. So that's the first and most important decision that you make, is finding lawyers who are committed to keeping matters out of court, who are focused on the best interests of the children. And then you sign a participation agreement. And in the agreement, you guys negotiate what the issues are going to be. You guys negotiate how you're going to proceed with the process. And you also agree that if you choose to go to court, that you're going to lose your lawyers. And that's a huge commitment that all parties are making, because they're investing all this time and energy into negotiating an agreement, and they're incentivized because everyone's made this commitment that if they choose an alternative process, then they're going to be reinvesting all of that time and all of that energy negotiating or battling a new agreement. So once you've done that, then the lawyers will speak to one another, identify some of the issues, and they will identify, what are the needs of the parties? Do we need to have a social worker in place because, one party has, a is there, just a parenting situation that requires more intervention and more specialization from a social worker with respect to, does one party work shift work, right? How are we going to work shift work? Nurses, police officers. So parents can have all sorts of different demands on their time, on their professional life, and having a social worker come in to be able to discuss those things, which I'm sure you can attest to as well. And then in terms of, do we need a corporate lawyer involved? What kind of business are we looking at? Do we need to get business valuations done? Do we need to get income valuations done? Hence, income that you're reporting to the CRA is not a true reflection of the income that's being brought into the household. And so you agree to have an income valuator come in and determine what your income is. So you might have a PhD in consulting, a PhD in engineering, and you have a consulting firm. So, if you were to go out there in the workforce and earn a certain amount of money, it may not be reflected in your taxes. And so you need to make sure that you have people and people who are specialized in being able to provide that information.
So in Canada, you actually pay support based off of your income, correct?
Correct.
So in other countries, it's not like that. I mean, back home, it's, I don't think in my situation, the judge didn't even look.
Wow.
Because my ex earned twice as much as I did. And she was like, okay, half and half for everything.
Wow.
So it's,
even in terms of the support, so how is the support calculated?
It's based off of the judge, because you have to go to Supreme Court. So this is why I'm so passionate about looking at bringing collaborative law to other countries, because searching for this is, unfortunately, most of the families who are not nuclear, this is how they're formed, through divorce, through this, blended families, all of these type of families, is through divorce. So this is the beginning of the formation. It's almost like, you had a wedding to start a nuclear family. Well, you have a divorce to start another type of family.
Right.
And, we put a lot of money in a wedding and a lot of thought in the wedding. And the wedding is now, has been over the years and it's legalized and everything. But have we really thought about the new formation of families, which is, i.e., divorce? And common law and so on. So Canada has come a long way when it comes to, and of course, being such a social country, in the sense of taking the emotion out of it, taking the discretion out of divorce. You make this income, you pay a percentage of that income. Whoever makes more pays, the dollar amount is more. You're treating people equally. It's how much you make. Number one, it takes the emotion out of it, which I love. The other thing is the collaborative law. Now, you mentioned something that's very interesting. So someone can choose to do collaborative law versus going to court.
Right.
But you cannot do both.
Well, the process is that if you choose a collaborative law lawyer, then those lawyers are committed to not going to court. And if at any point during the process there's a breakdown, then the parties would need to get new lawyers to commence litigation. And so, for some people that dissuades them from practicing collaborative law. because they feel that, they don't want the potential extra expense of going to litigation. But, the way that I look at it is, if you're prepared to provide all financial disclosure, there are no abuse issues, there's no hiding of financial assets, you want to do what's in the best interest of your children, then there's no reason not to agree that you're not going to go to court. And, I think that putting it down on paper, that these are the lawyers that you're committing to with respect to that, and is just very important and can help facilitate honesty and truthfulness in the process, because it's a private process. It's not a public process. Some people are worried about their businesses and information related to their businesses being made public, the public scrutiny of just your personal life. And to be able to provide all of that information in a safe place that's designed to be in the best interest of the family and your children.
So that, again, I love the fact, because one of, as you said, the incentive is, if you decide you cannot go ahead, you have to go to court, you lose all your money of all that collaborative law that you've done, and you have to start over. As a collaborative lawyer, have you seen situations where you say, no, I can't take your case because there's no way you're going to actually, you have to go to court, as you mentioned before, based on personalities of the parents, whether they're, do you see it? Like, can you say, I don't see one of them agreeing to anything? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, for example, I have a client who had indicated that she wanted to change her child's school because she was pregnant, and she wanted to move from her one-bedroom condo to a house outside of Toronto. And her ex-partner just refused to respond to any of her requests. She was the primary caregiver. She had children Monday to Friday. But you still need consent. She was the primary caregiver, but they had joint custody. So he needed his approval to be able to change the child's school and to move. And he just refused to respond. There was no letters being written back, no phone calls being returned. There was just no communication. And so in cases like that, litigation, there's no choice except for litigation. There's also issues with disclosure. So if someone owns a business, as I mentioned before, you have a PhD in engineering and you own a consulting company, and you may show one income on your taxes, but it's not a reflection of what the market says that you're worth. And so that needs to be evaluated. Your business needs to be evaluated to be equalized. And if you're not prepared to put forth your financial information, then you have no choice but to go to litigation. And I recently had a case where my client passed away, and her child was in Toronto and had, and this was in the middle of COVID, and the will had said that her grandparents would have custody. But under the law, the next person who would have custody is the child's father. The child's father had no contact with the child in the last 5 years, and but was contesting that the grandparents have custody. Wow. So a case like that, there's just no way that a collaborative law process would be helpful or useful for the parties. And what I can say is that in terms of the litigation process, we had the OCL, the Office of the Children's Lawyer, involved in that case pursuant to a judicial order. And the OCL was very mindful of the cultural and religious backgrounds of the parties. He spent a lot of time with the father, who was Chinese. He spent a lot of time with the grandparents, who were Vietnamese. And in doing all of these interviews, he really talked about the child and the best interest of the child and the long-term future of the child. And in doing that, he was able to facilitate conversations that started to bring the families together, and that were able to, you know, facilitate some discussions between myself and the child's father with respect to how can we facilitate access between China and Vietnam, but what can we do for the child in terms of ensuring that she has a strong familial support, which has always been her grandparents.
Mm.
And so getting some buy-in from the father was particularly important. And as a result of that, it led to an uncontested trial rather than a contested trial. And you know, the my client's wishes in her will were materialized, because then the order was made for her daughter to be reunited with her family in Vietnam.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure. You know, that's a lot of pressure. And do you, I mean, so explain the board of collaborative, like if a country, because we do have people that are very influential in their countries watching the show, how could they start collaborative law in their country?
I think the best way would be to contact the chairs in the Collaborative Practice Toronto, Collaborative Practice York region. They have a lot of information and resources on their websites about, you know, meetings that are held every couple of months. How they bring, the big thing is bringing the professionals together, having the proper training, and now with online mediation and online training. You can have these collaborative law professionals provide the training that's required internationally, and explain the positive impact that this type of work can have on a family. And a lot of marketing, right? So a lot of people just need to be aware that this is available, and that there's a team and a holistic process that can help families heal and empower them. You're looking at the financial, you're looking at the emotional, and you're looking at the legal. And so, you know, it's a matter of bringing those parties all together in a structured way, having consistent and similar training, and then being aware of the positive impact.
And explain the difference of collaborative law versus mediation, because I know many countries have mediation. Is there a difference between the two?
Yes. So in mediation, you may or may not have lawyers. Often people tend to have one mediator, and potentially have lawyers who they consult with advice on occasion. But the lawyers don't really work together with other professionals. So it's just one mediator who sits down with them and tries to help the parties come up with their own agreement. And, you know, a mediator is not a trained lawyer. There are challenges with that, because then the parties are not necessarily aware of their rights, or not necessarily aware of the nature and consequences of what they're signing. They're not thinking about the long-term impact that the financial or emotional agreement is going to have on their lives or their children. And not to say that I dissuade mediation. I think that mediation is a great tool. I'm in the process of becoming an accredited mediator, and I think it's a great option for parties. I think that the level of conflict needs to be very, very low, and the issues need to be quite simple. But I think that in order for mediation to work, I think it's still really important to have lawyers who are committed to a non-adversarial approach, and who are, you know, able to provide advice and ideas along the way that are out of the box and creative thinkers, right? So I think that's really important for mediation.
That's amazing. And then, so when you're doing collaborative law and divorce as a family lawyer, does a couple hire one lawyer, or does each person have their own collaborative lawyer?
Each person would have their own collaborative law lawyer. And I think that's really important, because You want somebody who understands your needs, who's had a case that's similar to yours, who has the experience level that you're looking for, can provide you with an interpretation service if you need it. So that's really, really important.
That's amazing. Hi, Dr. Sims. Now, Dr. Sims actually is a wonderful woman. She works with families as a psychologist, and it's amazing because I'm sure she's gobbling this up as collaborative law. And I'd love to know, Dr. Sims, do you have this in America as well? Because I did not hear about this till I met you. And I was like, I wish. I was like, oh my gosh. And I just want to commend you for seeking this type of law out. And I don't mean to dig a little personal, but why? Why did you find this type of law and decide to practice this type of law versus any other family law?
Well, to be honest, I went through a divorce myself, and my son was about 18 months old when I separated. And I just wanted to find a different way. So I didn't actually know about the collaborative law process. I just wanted to just find a way for my family to heal. And I just kept thinking about the fact that this is a process that's going to affect my family for the next 20 years. And the communication, the cooperation that we have is going to be really important. And so, we sought the help of a number of professionals to help us with our parenting communication. My son had a therapist since he was 3 years old, and to help him understand the new dynamics, create a new family, communicate as a new family. And so once I started doing this work, I used to have family and friends ask me for recommendations on a psychologist or a social worker or someone from a financial perspective to sort of manage all of the stressful events that are going to take place in your life. And so that's why I started doing it on a volunteer basis. And then I just decided that I was going to do this professionally. I went to a party, and someone asked me about the work that I was doing. And I said that, this is something that I'm really passionate about. And she asked me to join her firm in December of 2014. And so I became collaboratively trained, and being trained as a mediator. And it's been a real passion of mine, and I'm happy to promote it and help people become more aware.
That's amazing. Dr. Sims is like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And that's so. How did you? I'm just like, who started the one in New York and Toronto to say this is the way we need to go? Is it fellow lawyers like you? I mean, I'm just so happy that this has started because it is the way to go.
Yeah, no, my understanding is if you speak to a lot of collaborative law professionals, you'll find that half of them are divorced themselves in new blended families and have really, really gone through the hardships themselves and want to find ways to help the community, provide community-based law, and bringing in like other professionals to assist them.
So how do we get hold of you? And this is going towards personally those in Canada or the people that are watching that say, hey, I want to start this in my country. I want to start this in my city, because I want to commend you, and please take it back to your board. This is definitely bringing civility into divorce, because it's exactly that. This board, whoever started this collaborative law, is demonstrating civility in justice and the legal system.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm happy to speak to anybody that's interested in promoting this within their own country. I can be reached at farzanajiwanilaw.ca or my website, jiwanilaw.ca. And I'm happy to receive phone calls as well. My number is 647-938-9002.
So I'm going to put that Jiwani Law, www.jiwanilaw.ca, correct?
Yeah.
So this is how you find Farzana. I mean, congratulations. Thank you. I wish I met you. And I want to commit as family civility, and this is a big part. I want to commit to bringing this type of practice to countries. And I am going to help you in every way to do this, especially in the Caribbean, especially in Africa, in this. And now I'm hearing Dr. Celia, who is in the States, who is in California. She's saying that she's never heard of this type of law before. So
wow.
I know this is a big wow. I think this is really new to I mean really look at if Canada is doing this on its own, and I want to commend you, and let's commit to doing this. I'm so excited. It is Jiwani Law. That is the website. Sorry, that is the logo. You can look at up on the website, and we're so excited to have this, because this is what we need in family civility. It is, as you say, this is the beginning of the new type of families. It's not, weddings start a nuclear family, as we say, but there's also different, and that's it's double parents. So when I refer to nuclear, I'm not saying man and woman, I'm talking about double parents. And then this launches on to everything else. And there are a lot of struggles. There's a lot of struggles, especially with children with disabilities, especially with, the constraints of life changes, as you mentioned, so many things. If you've missed the show, please go on YouTube later in an hour and follow the show, find out what collaborative law is. Thank you so much for being on the show. I mean, I've learned so much from you, and I hope to have you on again. And we are actually having on Family Civility Day, November 15th, we're having a conference, a virtual conference, and I'm personally inviting you on to speak about collaborative law, because one of the departments of the Global Family Commission, of which we're forming with the Family Civility Institute, is peace and justice.
Wow.
The whole, yes, it is a subcommittee. We are committed to it as a global family commission, and we're hoping, and this is something we can bring to other countries. So thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for everything that you have. And ladies and gentlemen, please go on familycivility.com to find out about all the things that we're doing. Go to jiwanilaw.ca, and remember YouTube, the Family Civility Institute, to rewatch not only this show but other shows. Next week we have a wonderful guest talking about female empowerment and entrepreneurship. Again, if you empower the mothers, you empower the family. We really are the soul of a family. So don't miss next week, Monday, same time, 4:00. And thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show. And all the best. This is Family Civility Institute. I'm Dr. Rebecca Harper. Have a great week and happy parenting.